All right, hello. Testing. Hopefully that all works. And let's go live. I'm going to set up the event here real quick. Start the event. All right, cool. And I guess that's it. I guess we're live. Give everybody a couple of minutes to file on in. Take a sip before I lose my voice, how it usually goes. And let's just admire this artwork from last week. That was a lot of fun. All right, let's see. Cool. Well, we'll get started here. And we still got 3 minutes. I like to start on time, so we'll start on time. Um, why don't we look at earnings while we wait to start? See if anyone jumps in here. So this is next week's earnings, and we've got some kind of cool ones to look at. I haven't actually looked at this. This is like first glance of earnings coming up for next week, July 21st to 25th. And we got Verizon's a big one. Interest, I'm surprised they're before Monday. So kind of already missed my chance on those. Verizon. DPZ is always fun, but I would never do anything with it. I would never touch. I wouldn't touch Verizon either, to be honest. Kind of blue chip ish, right? And not really, not going to move in the way that I'm looking for. Then we've got some stuff that I'm familiar with. The defense industry stuff. LMNT or LMT. LMNT is the salt stuff, right? That's a different company. I don't think they're public yet, but if they IPO, I'm in. I have that stuff all the time. Element, oh, it's so good. Coca-Cola, of course, which I always laughed at their letters, their signal, whatever, is KO. That should be like I don't know, a boxing company should have KO. TKO is their symbol. Then we've got GM, could be mildly interesting, just kind of more like give you some insight on what's going on in the car industry a little bit outside of Tesla, the traditional car manufacturers. I got a cobweb. Sorry about that. That's going to be distracting. RTX, is that Raytheon? I can't remember. Then we've got Danaher, which is again a big, I think, are they an ag company? I've worked with people from there. I can't remember what they do though. Northrop Grumman, another big defense business. Then we've got Texas Instruments, always kind of funny. I don't even know how they're still in business, but they are. Like their calculators are. China could do better, I'm pretty sure, and just destroy the entire Texas Instrument market. I just saying, I don't know. SAP, that would be kind of an interesting one. Maybe mute so I can cough. Hopefully that didn't get recorded. Then we've got GD, General Dynamics, Hasbro. Kind of surprised they're still in business. Tesla, of course, is the big one, probably the biggest, with Alphabet being, I would say, the second biggest, unless I'm forgetting that like Nvidia's on here. And then we've got Chipotle, IBM. Wow, Wednesday is a big day. Holy cow. O'Reilly, which is kind of funny. O'Reilly and like AutoZone somehow just always make more and more money. Last I checked, pretty wild. Some more airlines. We've got American Airlines, the Blackstone Group. I don't think that's the barbecue company, is it? That'd be cool if they had a ticker. Maybe it is. Honestly, I have no idea. Nokia, I'm not looking much there. Dow again, kind of just ag chemical company. Southwest, another airline. Nasdaq, I guess nobody cares. Honeywell, nobody cares. I guess I'm sure people care about Honeywell. Deck, oh, okay, that's a big one. I've been waiting for Deck for forever. We'll see if my calls make any progress at all. Probably not. Intel, probably the third biggest one on here. I'm trying to see if there's. I'm looking back to see if I said any already that I'm like, more important than Intel. Probably not. Tesla, Alphabet, Intel, Chipotle. What's going on, Justin? Good to see you, man. I did have a good vacation. It was fantastic. Good to be back though. It wasn't even long, but it was just enough to get out and like unwind. And I won't say not think about work. I have to put work in quotes now because this is my work, but I don't mind thinking about that to begin with. So not thinking about it quite as often was like, yeah, whatever. But it's good to just get out of like your usual grind. What's going on? I want to say yip yip, but I don't think that's how you say it. Is that YTP YTP? Sid Saga, there he is. All right, good to see it. Anyway, I don't think there's a whole lot outside of those top three that are going to be like heavily played by the Theta Daddies anyway. Those are likely the most popular. Again, it's probably too late for Verizon and DPC unless you were to buy shares and just buy shares. Um, Coca-Cola might see some action. Just rescanning through here one more time. I didn't mention Thermo Fisher. AT&T, by the way, first ever, like I had in my life, I've had one inheritance, and thankfully, right? Like it's not, you don't want inheritances because it means people died, usually that you liked, especially if they're leaving you money. And I got like 10 grand of AT&T years ago, and immediately I'm just like, no, I'm out of this thing. And I look at the stock. I know they're like decent dividends for dividend generating companies, but it's just such a depressing stock to look at. So no regrets on getting out of that. I didn't buy other stock with it either. I just like I bought a computer that's probably in behind me somewhere over there that still works, and named it after my grandma. That was that story. But yeah, anyway, Tesla, Google, and Deck for me, Intel for others. Those are going to be the big ones this week coming up. Hey, Flox, good to see you too. Am I saying your name right too? I think it is, right? It's just Flox. All right, so let's get into things and keep saying hi to people as they come in. What a week! And awesome. Makes me want to puke, and I put this in my after hour post, like PEWKE puke. What a disaster. I do want to say like when I hit hard on the disaster, I am in no way blaming either Mr. L, who was a big proponent of it, nor am I blaming any of the other Theta Daddy coaches who were also in it and frankly had way bigger positions than me. At least, I think Average Advisor had a bigger position than me, or anyone else for that matter. Like, I think we always got to take accountability and responsibility for our decisions. And I knew what I was getting myself into, or at least I told myself that, right? I guess reality can kind of change that a little bit, but it sucked in the end, and we'll talk about it in a bit. But at the end of the day, like whatever, right? Like it was a known, calculated risk. It could have been worse, actually, but obviously it still sucked. And without playing an SPAC merger, whatever, I'd be at a regular 1.5% week. And so the reason I share that is like you gotta weigh the sexy with the boring. And do you really need the sexy in your life, or do you want to be just boring? Yeah, that's actually probably spelled better, Flax, than what I had. Hey, Colton, good to see you again. Or sorry, I'll call you DT. I won't call you out by the real name. But when I look at like the results of what's going on here, it's kind of depressing, right? When you look at, you're like, hey, these are like on average, that's the sum. You can't see that anyway. I know on average for the entirety of what I've got listed here is just under 15,000. Especially if you take out this outlier, it's over 15,000. And then just like boom, I'm gonna have to watch this. I'm gonna have to stare at this for 10 weeks in a row until it eventually just slowly falls off this list. And that kind of sucks. And it sucks because like I didn't have to do it. It's not going to change my life in any way, but it's just one of those things of is it really worth it for what could have been? And realistically, like what really could have been, maybe this would have turned out if this had gone to like say 24, 25, and I was able to pull off $8 a share on 2,500 shares. I wish I could do the math quickly enough in my head. It's $20,000, right? Like it'd be a big number, but it wouldn't be wildly above that number, right? And I could have just sold options and focused on options, or my vacation for that matter, right? And like not thought about this at all. And to be honest, it did take time out of the vacation to kind of like manage this because of the disaster that was Fidelity. And I know I know Flocks in particular, you were in that too, right? With Fidelity and a couple other people where it's like you just things should have happened differently, or at least we expected them to happen differently. And then I spent a couple hours by the time Fidelity opens, the market opens, you see what did and didn't happen. I should have been at the beach already. And instead, I was managing some stupid position that really, like, I had no business even being in while on vacation. But anyway, I did take a little bit of a hit from that overall. And the only other thing that, like, on here worth really talking about is I got assigned a lot of shares called away, which is good. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm out of CSPs, nothing left on those. Obviously, I think I only had one live anyway. And then, NLV total value of the port dropped a little bit last week. It was like 115 ish, something like that. And UNH is just like tanked this week, along with HIMS and some other things that sold off. But UNH seemed to get hit a bit harder, which was a little disappointing. Also, I fixed the thermometer, so I gotta post a new one because it was like a disaster there. Yeah, I got told different things from Fidelity as well, especially after hearing what certain people in the server got told. It was like they were like, "Yeah, we'll fix it and no commission charge for this and have a nice life." And it's like, "What?" Okay. So they were definitely aware of it. I bet they by the time I called, they had figured out their story and had their emails sent out to all the people managing. Like, "Oh yeah, this is totally normal. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you." And they didn't because, like, I honestly, part of it was they asked me like, "Okay, what do you want your order to be?" And it was very much on the spot. I'm like, well, I guess I'll go with what the recent high was, 24, because I'm thinking it'll go back there if it pumps the way everybody thinks it's going to pump. But anyway, so I think that's it for this part of the chart. We'll get right into the trades. And there's really not that much, but like I feel like there's still a lot to talk about. I'm going to scroll down to here. So this is what we're looking at for today. And they all say vacation plays, one of which was a big oops. But and we'll talk about that. But NBIZ is definitely like my star where I got assigned 1,000 shares at $46. And if we look at like last week, what happened with NBIZ, it was kind of interesting that it was a dump at the end of last week. We show opening up at 48.92, but we finished the week prior at 43. It was there we go. 40 it says 44.30, but I thought we finished at 43. Maybe it was 44.30. And so I sold my my CCs. No, they were CSPs, sorry. Cash secured puts like somewhere around here at 51, 52. And I was like, 46, good premiums, but like historically on the company, yes, we're at a high spot, but it just didn't seem likely that in a week's time we were going to be down at 46. Seemed like a really safe play. And then to have that dump like it did, get assigned, not even have any control over what happened the next day of like, okay, here you're assigned these shares at 46. They're only worth 43. The next moment I can touch them. I guess I could have done things after hours, but I didn't. The next moment that the market opened, it was like $50. Here you go. Here's $4,000. I was like, okay, thanks. So I sold almost immediately a bunch of CCs here. Now, I went back and forth on this a little bit. I was like, should I wait at all? But the fact was, like, I was already way in the money from the standpoint of being above cost basis. And I was going on vacation in like a couple hours. I'm like, I'm just going to set the CCs while I'm well above cost basis. I sold them for 50 when we were at 51 or something like that. Maybe it was just under 51. So they were, like a buck 70 or buck 50 each, which was fine. I could have got a better price on that. I could have set a limit and I didn't. Maybe that's one thing I could have done a little bit differently here was set a limit sell, but it opened so high it seemed like it was going to do one of those spikes and just like slow reversion to the mean, because I couldn't see the news on why it spiked back up of anything that was of material in the time that I had before I left for vacation. So I let it fly and came out with $5,500 on a 46K investment after having just made whatever the prior week was when I got assigned NBIZ, which is, I guess I can't find it. How did I lose sight of that quickly? Right there. So on $1,000 on top of that, so $6,500 over a couple of weeks. and like really felt zero stress on these at all. Dream wheel play right there. Just saying, like assigned, and then before you can even do anything with that, do anything with the shares, they're worth more than you paid for them. Like perfect. So I don't know. Did anyone else play NBiz on this one? I'm curious. I know we had a few people. I know Showcase, who I'm not sure if he's on, made that play. He's actually who I followed on that one. So like, props to Showcase on that. I'm going to call him Showbiz. Props to Showcase on picking that. He had. I asked him to sell me on it because the premiums looked nice, and it was like NBiz or CoreWeave or something like that. I wanted to do a little bit more on the AI side of things, and CoreWeave was just a disaster. It's been a disaster, so I'm kind of glad I stayed away from that one because NBiz at least has history. CoreWeave is what, a couple months from IPO, so like we could go all the way back to $40. I don't know. People say that's never going to happen. It's, whatever. Everything's like much better defined for them than that. Although it seems like they still may be a little bit highly overvalued potentially. But just looking at them and this volatility, I know this is crazy hearing me say it, someone who loves Reddit, but it was too much. It was too much because there's just not enough history. And I felt a little bit better when I looked at NBiz. I was like, okay, at least when I look at like the 1 year and for how far is it? It only goes back to November 2024. Not even 1 year. At least there's some better history here, and we've got multiple earnings and things worked out where I feel pretty good. You can ignore the drop here. That's just the tariff noise, right? So, although I'm looking at this, and this looks like it had a really nice cup and spike also, which we're going to talk about in a little bit because, man, that is becoming like my favorite thing to track. So anyway, that's it on NBiz. That was a fantastic play, and 5,500 for very, very little effort on that. Kind of tripped over money on that one. Then we have my first like mistake play of the week, and again, this was like purely rushing. Personally, I was selling the CCs on this. I had multiple screens open, looking at Bull, looking at Reddit, looking at Hims and Archer all at the same time because I was like, okay, I've got 2 hours to get whatever I'm going to get in done because I don't want to do this when I'm at the beach. Cool. Well, unfortunately for me, in my head, I was like, oh yeah, 13 is cost basis. Perfect. Well, it wasn't. 13.5 was what I got assigned at. Now, in the end, this is fine. It was profitable. It was, I think it's actually 2,000 because, no, that's the right number. It's 1960. But when I look back to like what it was at last week for the CSPs that I got, if I were to group that with the transactions here, again, it was $5,300 over the course of a couple weeks, if that, on 70K. And we're going to break out, I know you guys love breaking out the calculator, 5,300, I think that's what I said, right? Divided by the original cost basis of 73,000, we'll call it, is a 7.2% return for a couple of weeks. So if we multiply that by 26, right? 188% return. There's no complaints there. I just would have picked 1350. I wouldn't have picked 18 or something crazy where we ended up spiking up to by the end of the week. That would have been like incredible Rain Man type stuff. But it should have been another 50 cents basically. It wouldn't be that much because the premium was better at 13, obviously, by the time I sold this. Alternatively, I could have just left it uncovered, but I wanted to do something where, in general, I set all my plays at the beginning of the week and was just like, look, this is how it can work. You don't do anything and you sell options and you go live your life for a week, because that is actually the goal of everything that we're doing here, right? So if I could do that successfully for the week, which, while I did, you can't see it because of puke, but whatever. That's what I want people to see, how you can do this, because there's a lot of action that goes on after hours and on the Discord in particular, obviously, because most of the people here are from the Theta Daddies. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of noise, but it doesn't have to be noisy. It can be set 7 trades and you walk away with 1% on your money. Like, it can be that easy. And actually it was, and we'll go through it and just look at it without puke, and you'll see that, right? Like if we were to just select the things that actually we're going to take off Lulu as well. We'll talk about that one in a bit. It was an 18.5 week, and 18.5 on the port's like 1.5%. Like that's the goal. That would have been fantastic. And with very little management. There was only one buyback in the entirety of that, and that was Reddit, which we'll talk about next. And I immediately, in the server, you saw it, I sold the CC, and I immediately bought it to close limit buy for 60%, and it was great. I'm catching up on chat for anyone who's like watching the video after I recorded this live. All right, so we got YTP. How do you say your name faster than that, man? That's too much. How do you bring in the current price into Excel? Well, this is not Excel. This is Google Sheets, and I could just show you the formula. If you look at it, it's this Google Finance formula, and then you just this is the ticker, which it's referring to off A, and then you type in price attribute. There's actually other things that you can do. I don't do it. You can like look up the price over a period of time and some other stuff, or the average price, or maybe some other interesting things like I don't think you can look up like IV or anything. I don't know. Maybe you can. But yeah, it's built in. So it's kind of nice and makes it easy. Last 2 weeks regressed to staring at, yeah, man, you never want to stare at the charts, right? Like that's got to be, you can if you want. If that's what you like, cool. But like personally, I find myself, the days that I stare at the charts the most are the days that at the end of the day, and this is a little life coaching, I guess, I feel the worst, right? Like they're the least fulfilling because you're just staring at numbers change that don't like mean anything to you in the whole of your life, right? Like you didn't get anything productive out of that. You don't feel accomplished. Even if the number went up, you're like, yeah. Like you still stared at the screen all day, and you probably could have just done that with a limit buy or sell rather than that. So yeah, you got to be careful. All right, back to Reddit. So we did the sell and limit buyback. That worked out well for a quick $1,000, close enough. And then Reddit RDTL. This is the 2x leverage fund. I made two plays here. I had a limit buy for 25. And then a limit buy for 24.25 today, this morning, because I was back and I'm like, I might as well do a little bit of trading. So I guess you could shave $1,000 off of what I'm reporting in terms of what I did on autopilot. But otherwise, this was on autopilot. And real simply, I've kind of identified, I'm not the only one. I've identified a channel on Reddit that I think is pretty repeatable, and we can go look at that actually. It's repeatable now. If you're watching this video in like a year, sorry, I don't know what the channel is, but maybe I should take videos down in the future. That's something I should probably think about. All right, so we have Reddit. I'm going to open up both of these, and then we have RDTL. And Reddit does this a lot. It opens and like short pressure, or I don't know what it is, it dumps almost every day. And I can probably look at this here on Robinhood a little bit easier. Let's shrink these down a bit because we don't really care about RSI that much right now. But like today we opened, dropped, right? And we opened flat. We usually seem to open flat. The day prior, well, that was backwards, but we spiked up and then we dropped. So it's going to happen, right? The day before that, we dropped, and we always close flat. Like that's the crazy thing, right? So we almost always keep closing very close to flat. So all I did, and I know I'm looking at a very short period of time, but look again, dropped to from open to like an hour in, and then closed not flat, down a bit, obviously, but like up from where we dropped. And I'll look at Monday too. Monday did it slightly, not nearly as much, but, and I wouldn't have bought it on Monday, right? I think they hit on Tuesday. I look for this, and that's where you got to capitalize, especially when right now I'm trying to keep my main shares uncovered because I expect us to have a big earnings run up here in the next couple of weeks. So you might as well take advantage when you see a channel like this or a pattern that just continues to hit. It's low risk to buy the shares and swing trade them. And the benefit is, well, on RDTL, it's 2x. So we went from 23.75. I didn't get it there. I got it at 24.25, somewhere around here. I guess it was before that. I filled here. And then I didn't go for max. I didn't wait all day. I sold it here at 25.5. I thought about putting 26. I wouldn't have gone any higher than that, I don't think, just to get like the full dollar per share difference. But that was a 3.5% play in a day. And well, let's break out the calculator. What's 3.5 times 240? I mean, like, okay, I'll take 840% annualized return any day of the week. I mean, that was just free money to me. So look at, if you have an equity that you follow that tends to be a little volatile. And as an example, that could be Tesla, that could be MicroStrategy, that could be Google. Well, Google's not that volatile. It can be, I guess. But they all have like these 2x. They're not all granite shares, I don't think, but they all have these 2x ETFs that you can play with if you feel very confident in what movement they're going to do. And I can't tell you what that's going to be, not financial advice, all that fun stuff, right? You got to decide that for yourself. But that can help you take advantage of swings of the underlying being Reddit in this case. So, hey, Alec, good to see you, man. How'd we do? I don't want to talk about it right now, okay? I got popcorn in my mouth. Sorry. Oh, I can do this. Oh, I was way too slow on this. There we go. All right, you didn't have to see that. You just had to imagine it, which might be worse, actually, now that I think about it. All right, so let's get back to the trading. We had RDTL was a quick flip of 1740. Oh, let's do the actual math. I said it was like 3.5%, but 1740 on a 49,260 position was 3.5%. Okay, cool. We finished at 51,000, even slightly better than that, obviously. And again, times 240 for like a 1-day play. That's insane. 850% return. I will take that any day of the week. Good play. Probably like my only. In fact, if I didn't get this, I would have been. I think I would have finished the week at like $300. So thank you, Reddit. I appreciate you, brother. Next up after that was Hims. Hims was a simple play. I didn't do anything for Hims either. In fact, I'm not sure. There was definitely a concern that they were not going to get called away. I sold this $50 CC early in the week, and Hims was another one where it was like it dropped down, and so I didn't get assigned last week, and I got the resell at the money CCs, but it ended up being a dollar higher. 50 worked out great because in the beginning of the day, this is the whole day here, right? I was able to get, before I left, at just about $50. I sold my CCs here, so that worked out fantastic. I mean, yeah, like maybe, I don't know, maybe I should have done limit sell at 53. That seems unlikely that it would ever filled. I'm real happy with how this one turned out. Real standard Hims play. Hims has been very stable in this channel since that drop we had a month ago, and we're trending up. Like, I haven't brought up TradingView here yet today. Let's take a look at Hims, and we definitely have a nice trend going up here. After that drop, that mega drop that we somehow didn't immediately recover from. And I wish I bought more here, honestly. Like this is where you've got to have better conviction than what I had. And I wonder if, as we get into the Ichimoku cloud here, if we're going to continue up, who knows, right? But I think we're like already, it feels like we're wedging here a little bit. I'm not going to draw any more lines. I already got lines all over the place here I will extend these out though. This is the range that I'm expecting us to get back into, because this is the range that we were in, bouncing between, I think this is like 52 to 60, something like that, or 61 I have here. I'm expecting to get back in here. So really, I plan on continuing to sell. I'll probably sell CSPs next week on Hims. I may even get aggressive and do something like 52, because I do think that we're going to make our way back into here after this news was largely ignored. And it's almost like the market just uses this as an opportunity to reset their position in general. But I think we're going to just slow play back to here. Maybe it takes till earnings for that to happen. I don't know if this is officially the date or not yet for earnings. Maybe it's been announced. But I do think we're going to find our way back into this channel. And frankly, earnings could catapult us above. we could just jump to the next channel here, which would be in that 60 plus range, which we keep teasing ourselves with if they've got interesting news to share there. Pennant Thud, good to see you, dude. I don't know who you are. Are you one of the TVs here? Shoki, what? Wait a second. You had a different name last time. You are like the international man of mystery. You should go by Austin Powers. That would be a good throwback. You got into RDTL 10 cents before me. Higher, like 24 or 35. And then what do we got? Alec B. Yeah, I know Alec, dude. Come on, man. Your name's actually like easy. You match 4 letters of the 4 letters of your name. You did CSPs on Hims at 46. This week, you didn't even come close to it. Or are you talking about prior weeks? So yeah, you're in the clear there. Unless you wait, did you CSPs or CCs? Maybe even CCs, because they were that would have been a little, I don't know, gut wrenching maybe. Oh, you were telling Showcase. Okay, cool. That's fair. All right, so Hims, great play. I really have come to love Hims. It's made up for that time where I like capped myself at $30 or $27 over here, and then it went to 60. God, that one hurt my soul. There's not many CCs I've been covered on where I've capped upsides that have hurt as much as that one. I think that might be the most painful one I've ever had, and could be the most painful one I ever do have. Like, that was just ridiculous. I love how like all of our moving averages are slowly working their way back. It is good to see the 200-day moving average kind of coming back into play here. It's going to be a little while before we get all the way back up there, but making progress there anyway. Alec can never be a spy. No, you can't, not with that name anyway. You had Archer 11. Hey, me too. Well, we'll talk about that one. Maybe I'll make you feel better. Maybe not. Probably not. I probably won't. I don't want to make any promises there. All right, so Hims we came out with 5,300 on 100K. So a little better than 5%, maybe 5.5% on that. And, let's do the math. I got a calculator. We can do the math. 5,380 divided by 98,000 cost basis. And that was 5.5 rounded percent. We'll call that 5.5%. That was pretty good math in my head. So yeah, very happy with Hims. Again, it just continues to pay like, well, this is, maybe I'll do this real quick. We'll bring up like Hims historical for you guys to see. I've played this forever, and it's made almost 20K now. Just back now, you got to keep in mind, back in the day, I was doing much smaller experimental sizes and staying kind of clean. And then eventually, when I went full time here, I was like, all right, we're gonna start doing like real purchases. So these early ones were kind of small, but man, you look at those numbers. 24. So if you ever feel like you missed out on something, maybe that'll make you feel better. Probably not, because it still sucks. But all right, let's get back to where we were. What happened here? I am missing. Ooh, I gotta fix that. I'm missing. Oh no, that's shares. It doesn't matter. Okay, Archer's next. So Archer was one where I sold $11 CCs. Cost basis was $10.50. I had 4,000 shares, so like that helps when you got a lot of shares on a small gain. It still ended up coming out as a nice $3,000 hit, and 3,000 divided by the $42,000 cost basis was a 7% play. So like I know what Archer did, but like that's what Archer does. And look at that. Look at that. We're already back like red, apparently. I don't know how red. 13. Okay, 13 is still pretty high. 13 is still pretty high above 11. So we can't feel that much better about it. But yeah, I sold like back here my $11 CC. So they weren't even like well priced at the time when I sold them. But it was one of those like, again, I'm going to be gone for the week. I was truly happy selling these at 11. And had I sold them at limit sell 11 on Monday or Tuesday, whenever that would have hit, it would have been fine. I would have been like, yeah, great. Maybe if I was home, I would have done like CSPs or something for 11. But overall, I call that a big win. and it just did what it does. That's fine. Honestly, I think Archer's going to be back in the toilet next week because that's what Archer does. It's very whipsaw. I mean, look at this. Like we have spikes, and we're down. And we have spikes, and that's what Archer does. So you're never going to hit all the spikes. Chop the spikes off. That's what you're aiming for. You're aiming for here, man. You're aiming for here. The spike is whatever. Nobody sells at the exact top except for long, right? Like that's not what we're trying to do. So feel good about your $11. You made money, I'm guessing, right? And if you made money, hey, do not bring up Qubit in my chat, man. You might be the first ban ever. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to ban you. But like, that's actually my worst play that I've ever made, and best lesson learned also. Well, you got me right off that Archer rant. That was good. So let's catch up here a little bit. We've got back in the good old days, $24. Oh, it still hurts. 30K with Circle. Dude, I don't know anything about Circle. Like you got me on NBiz. Man, Showcase, you missed it. I was giving you all like this credit for getting me into NBiz. That one made me like 7.5%, 8% or whatever. It made $5,500 in a couple of days. That was amazing. Did I spell it right? I always spell this wrong. Yeah, okay, that's it. So what did you want? What did you look at? You had it at 30? What? No. I must be reading that wrong. You missed out on 30K with Circle. Was it this? Probably, right? It is what it is, man. I'm so. Oh, you're choosing not to look. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll go back to NBiz for a second. No, it was great. It was, my only regret on NBiz going back to that was I didn't size it to the full 10% that I like to do, and it could have been double. It could have been a nice 10K play versus puke. Ugh, sickening. And unfortunately, we're about up to having to talk about that one. Yes. But first, we get to talk about Lulu. Actually, I'm not going to really talk about Lulu very much because I feel like I hit this one every time. This was a bounce play bet. Didn't work out. I didn't stop loss myself. I kept like hanging on to the hope and the prayer, and it didn't work. Not a good way to manage. I don't really have a whole lot of takeaways here outside of it was a known gamble. Would I do it again? Yes, but not with Lulu. Like this was one of those like Lulu burns, and now I'm probably never going to touch Lulu ever again unless like my wife's wearing them. And other than that, like no Lulu, go away Lulu. I almost got burned on the put side too. I revenge traded puts and made $700, I think, or $800, or maybe it was a grand, whatever. So you take this one on the chin, you move on, and that's that. I'm not gonna. I didn't honestly didn't lose any sleep over this. The worst part about this was having to stare at it on my chart for like a month and a half. That was probably the worst part. Could they go back to 280 in a month or two? Yeah, of course, but like whatever. I'm done with them. I know. Showcase. You feel my pain on that one, right? That was not a fun one. The takeaway is drop Lulu forever. Well said. I'm going to stick with that, and we'll add a note. You're dead to me. See you, Lulu. No more of you. All right, I'm really just buying time because I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about Pew at all. You want to tell UNH? Oh, we did. We could talk about. We'll talk about UNH after. Actually, I'm sorry. I am getting distracted, and also I have to go back to Bull in a minute. There's so much stuff to talk about. So, let's just get this one out of the way, so I don't have to talk about it again. This was definitely one where it was like multiple mistakes and painful because multiple mistakes compound apparently if you are just like repeatedly screwing yourself, which is what I did. Now, originally these were two different purchases, $1,500 or 1,500 shares of Caliber, which is funny because the guy in Fidelity, when I talked about him, he's like, so Colombian. I'm like, Colombian? What? Who are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, that's the actual name of this stupid stock, Colombier or whatever. I bought 1,500. I sold it. I swung traded. So actually, my loss isn't 13,000 like total position if you include. But if I look at Caliber too, which we could do real quick, let's do CLBR, which is apparently Colombier. Select you, and then we're going to do Pew, select you, okay. And in total, we lost 9,000, almost 10, we'll call it 10K, right? So like very painful. Had I just stopped playing it before vacation, I would have walked away with $3,000, which is huge percent. And I did the classic like, oh, now I'm going to go all in, which is like the kiss of death in options. So this obviously played out in a way where kind of got screwed by Fidelity, but I have to take responsibility for it because the best case scenario, had everything gone the way that I wanted, would have been like, I think it would have been like a $4,000 loss, maybe $5,000 loss. But I bought a second tranche of shares of 1,000, which isn't a huge amount, right? It was like $14,000, and it's percentage wise not a huge amount. But like, I just shouldn't have done that because it was such a wild moment. And the worst part is, there was a moment where I looked at that exact position, those 1,000 shares that were accessible, and I could have sold it for 30% profit. It went from 14 to 17 and change. And I looked at it, I'm like, nah, it's going to 24 again because this is the pump, right? And it was like, if you look at, I think I could talk about it, but like if you're on Long's, because I think he posted it. Yeah, he posted everything already on After Hour. If you're on his Patreon, right, he talked about what he did, and he didn't want to tell people when he exited, although it was actually obvious if you were following like the order flow, because his position was a particular size. He got out right away at like 22 or 21. And like that was the play. Now I couldn't do that with the Fidelity shares, but I should have exited as downside protection on the 1,000 additional shares that I bought. Although realistically, I shouldn't have bought those 1,000 additional shares at all. So again, like there's things that I could have learned for, okay, if I took this position, fine, take a profit, which is violating number one of my rules of, or whatever rules, whichever number of my rules. I didn't take the profit. I stared at it. I looked at it. I'm like, no, we're going to get more out of this. We're going to go together with the shares. And then really, I just shouldn't have bought those at all. So tuition paid. Sometimes you need to get slapped in the face a couple times to realize like, it's so easy, right, to look at numbers on a screen and be like, oh yeah, we're moving and shaking, right? We're doing this, we're doing that. And it's like, no, that's like a sign of lack of discipline, rushing, making not well thought out choices. And everything about that situation for me ended up in hindsight not being really well thought out moves. And that's where you got to catch yourself. Like there's this like, we talked about it in the corporate world in safety terms of the moment of decision. And this is for like factory people who are, about to take a risk. And they know it's a risk, right? And they could get hurt. And if they get hurt, there's no going back. I mean, you can get stitched up and band-aided and whatever. But like, what if you lose a finger? Or worse, and worse happens, right? Like that moment of decision exists in the world of stocks. In that we always have a moment where we can decide. And when you click that submit button, are you always sure that was a well thought out click, right? I know it's just a click. You're not going to lose a finger, which is good because that would suck, right? If you got to like click stock and like maybe you're going to lose a finger every time you hit the button. But no, you could genuinely have a better, more well thought out action or at least thought process before you take that last action there of submitting it. So anyway, that's like all of Pew, and it really was puke for me. Like I walk away from this and it hurts a little bit. I was even telling my wife like, oh yeah, look, $24, and she's like, oh cool, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm an idiot. So your husband actually sucks. But she was cool, right? She's like, whatever. It's lesson learned. She blames Fidelity. Realistically, I blame myself. Fidelity had, a piece of it, but like, to be honest, like if we could have known, we could have done the research to know that's how Fidelity handled this. And I don't know why it didn't occur to any of us. Like, maybe somebody thought about it, but like we could have called them and be like, hey, what happens here? And instead we're like, yeah, it works like this on this brokerage. It works like that on that brokerage. Well, now we know. We paid the price to find out. It kind of sucks. Time to move on. So, all right. that was everything I want to talk about on Pew. And I'll never talk about it again because I have no like I don't have any. That's the other rule I broke. One more thing I'll talk about. I had no conviction in the stock to begin with. It was purely an SPAC gamble play, and that was in and of itself, a mistake. Got to identify that. Got to live with it. Got to move on. So be it. All right. Now that you got my full rant, let me see if I need to catch up on anything. Group trauma processing. Yeah, I don't know if you got that out of your system like I did, but it was cathartic talking about it. So, oh man, you guys were talking a lot here. Oy, I'm not going to be able to catch up on all this. So, let's see if there's anything. All right, Pew is poo. Got it. Lulu could be poo poo, right? Okay, got it. We bought the dip that kept dipping. Yep, when it dips, you dip. We dip. We dip. We keep dipping more. It's. Yeah, I was gonna go with some analogy. I'm not gonna do that. It did all disappear. Halting sucks. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, cool. Caught up. 20-year faith and fidelity crushed. I gotta say, like, as much as my wife was like, you gotta move from Fidelity, I'm like, I don't want to move all my shit again. Honestly, I really don't want to move it all to Robinhood. I like Hood is good for certain things, but like that's not where I want everything. And to be honest, like I don't know if it's like a port size thing or not, but I have a person that I can call direct at Fidelity, which is kind of nice. Like he'll just be like, "Oh yeah, hey John, oh how you doing? Okay, blah 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 blah. Oh okay, yeah, we can solve that. Cool, awesome." That's kind of nice. So, like, I'm not going to get that at Hood, right? You get the stupid AI chatbot, and you're like, oh, you want to talk to someone? Here's better AI. And you're like, I'm not sure I'm really talking to somebody. I'm pretty sure this is just more AI. Oh, that's something that's going to happen, by the way. Like, we're going to get tricked that we're now talking to real people, but we're not really talking to real people. So, all right, let's move on. There are some other things that I wanted to talk about. I have some other plays live for next week already. We've got Tesla CCs, which reminds me, I need to cancel this CC buyback because it's getting within 50% of time. But realistically, I'm hoping that we close above 330. I would love to get a. This is amazing. Like this is max profit. Maybe it goes to 3. I don't care. I don't care what it goes to. I'll happily take this because my cost basis is 325. So another $1,000 on top of the $1,500 here is great. Looking forward to seeing how that resolves, hopefully to the upside. But even if not, like that's pretty good percent return on it for a couple weeks. I had to go a couple weeks out to get that post earnings volatility, all of that, right? The IV was higher, and and that's something you should think about, right? If you can't get the premiums that you want, and you're kind of interested in getting out, and you're generally bullish, but like again, are happy to sell your shares, see how far out earnings are. If it's 2-3 weeks, well, that you might as well. You're actually going to get a better percent return, most likely, on the IV than by selling options, not by buying them, but by selling them, than if you just try to grind something out for the week. It's often a better play. Now, what'll suck is if this drops to, I don't know, 290 again, which is possible, but it's Tesla, so like whatever. I'm not generally not concerned, if I'm honest. GME, nothing. I'll probably buy these back in the next week or two because GME is kind of in a channel right now. Not super exciting right now. Thought it was going to go up a little bit higher, a little bit sooner. May not happen until next earnings cycle, but that's okay. It's honestly like GME, as much as we like to meme on it, has become fairly stable. And so you can make just regular wheeling money. It's like a blue chip meme. Blue chip memes is the new term, I think. Join you on E-Trade. Dude, I need to tell you, like, I thought somebody was messing with me when they said they were on E-Trade. I was talking in real life. This is like a month ago. I was talking to a buddy, and he was telling me, he's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I was like, oh, cool. What are you on? He's like, E-Trade. I'm like, are you fucking with me? I think you're messing with me. No, he was serious. And I'm like, E-Trade still exists? Like, I genuinely did not know E-Trade still existed. I think I hurt his feelings a little bit. And he's like, what other brokerages are out there? And I'm like, well, Well, don't go to Vanguard because God, those are the worst if you're looking to sell options. But I told him a couple others. He's like, "Oh, let me know if you got a referral code." I'm like, "Sure." I don't. I guess you can refer people. I should probably do that. I haven't though. But yeah, so apparently E-Trade still exists. And well, why don't you move from E-Trade, man? Why do we need to go to you, Alec? You go to like Hood. In fact, help me get my gold card. I'll give you my link. A rep called and introduced himself saying he's assigned to your port. That's amazing. That's a good story. I had Schwab years ago. I actually technically have a Schwab account. They still email me all the time. That's where that AT&T stock went, was Schwab. I didn't have a problem with Schwab. The problem I had was I just had too many brokerages. I still have too many, by the way. It's like you get 401ks through different jobs in different brokerages, and it just becomes a mess. Based on each, hey, whatever. I'm not hating, man. Look, dude, if you make money on E-Trade, cool. Long's got to do an E-Trade challenge soon too. He's got Webull, Hood. I don't know if he's done Fidelity yet. He wants to make $1 million on every single one of them. So don't worry, you'll get your time in the sun, I'm sure. Your family members each. Oh, I feel you, dude. E-Trade Power. Ugh, that's hilarious. That's such a lame name. Lord Market to see you, dude. You looking to get that RH Gold too? Yeah, we all are. I think Bob Dog might have got the actual gold card. I'm not sure. All right, cool. We'll get back to what else we got. We got Google. Google is this was kind of a long out play that I made in order to get slightly better premium. Again, weekly returns would have been better, but this is in one of those other brokerages, actually in Vanguard, and I'm like, let's just look post earnings, 815, 190, was paying $3. My cost basis is like 170 something. I don't know, what is it? 170. So $20 a share, not bad. And we're getting pretty close. Plus another $3 a share, $23 a share times 200. I mean, that's probably a big number if I could do the math in my head, which I can, seriously. But it's just, yeah, it's a simple play. This is like a Boglehead option selling play, except it's not on spot or VTI, I suppose. But nice simple one. You don't have to go crazy with these, but yeah, I mean, $20 is $20, man. Take it. And Lucid's kind of a funny one. I wasn't even going to talk about this, but I might as well. And that is that I sold Leaps because we were at like $2. And then all of a sudden it went up 40%. And I don't, it most likely will not stay in the money because it's Lucid. But generally, I will have to stare at this for 6 months or pray that somebody calls this away. Some good soul calls this away from me early. I'm really hoping that somebody's like, oh my gosh, these are actually worth something for the first time ever. I need to get out. Sell it. Please buy them. Please take the shares now so I can get out of Lucid and never think about it again. This is one of the definitely the positions that I'm looking to trim. But honestly, it wasn't bad. I mean, $1,200. It's not a great return. Honestly, it's like 20% or whatever. But I'll take it, and I get out at. I think this is even. Yeah, $3 is my cost basis here because I bought it. I bought it at like 202. Sold it, bought it back at like 250, sold it, bought it back at 3, and then I've been stuck with it for a while. So kind of looking forward to getting out of this. I don't really care what they do. They're just, one of the things that comes out of these experiments with like Lucid, potentially bull. I don't want to curse them or anything, but like potentially bull. But these non-market leader companies don't get the same liquidity, which means they don't get the same action. They don't have the same options available. They don't get the same premium, although they can have a lot of IV, obviously. But like they don't have the same general bullish trend. NVIDIA, right, versus AMD, Tesla versus Rivian versus Lucid. I mean, a lot of these companies have this similar setup in their sector where you've got a market leader that moves, and you got to ask yourself, like, okay, yeah, if you can't afford the expensive stock, you can't afford that's fine, but you are kind of selling yourself a little bit short when you play these versus maybe a leveraged ETF. Now, again, not financial advice, but definitely something to consider. Like, play the market mover. Hood has generally outperformed bull in the last month, with the exception of like the last couple of days. and you do well, right? Nvidia has generally outperformed AMD with the exception of AMD's drop, but like one for one, they're still way outperforming them. So that's kind of like a learning that I've taken away from here. And I guess, again, I get the pleasure of having to stare at this position for the next forever, but whatever. Uh, Dude, Lucid being public is very weird because they're backed by like openly backed by Saudi money, billions, and it just the whole thing feels weird. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I get it. Good. You like an RDTL? Dude, I love RDTL. It's like I was watching for that to come out because it was announced, but then it took forever to come out. And then I missed like a month of it. I could have been playing that for another few weeks. Then you can see we got Deck. Deck is whatever. We got earnings coming up next week, so that's kind of a big deal. It's on Thursday. You can see that, right? Yeah, it's on screen. Thursday after close. That's kind of exciting. Will we move? Will we move back closer to my hope and dreams here of 115, or am I gonna finally cut this loose? I will say I'm like slightly worried that it's gonna drop again. Um, it seems like it found some support. It's got very solid support at $101 for whatever reason. Like if you look at the actual chart there on Deck, like it's very stable right here. Even when we drop, I thought about buying back the CCs here, but I was on vacation. I was like, whatever. Let's see what happens. Um, but yeah, like very strong support here. We go out far enough. Well, maybe I should click the button. Let's look at the 5 year. What happened? Okay. We're way back. Oh, I didn't realize. Holy cow, we're on the 200 moving average now. Okay. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better. Um, I don't know. I kind of wish Average Advisor was here to advise us averagely with what he thinks will happen here. But we got a wedge coming into earnings. We've got like a clear wedge, right? I don't know if it's a bull flag or what. Um, we definitely have a chance, but I still worry about more breakdown. It's really just how it goes. I don't know. What's everybody here think? Jay Peters, what's going on? Good to see you. Oh, wait a second. This is Saul, dude. I didn't even see you in the background, man. I'm glad to have you with us as always. Better than GLD. All right. Oh no, I just caught up on your Pew comments. It took me all the way back to the beginning. I feel you, man. I feel you. Saul's commiserating with us all. Just I'll leave it at that. He's in the Theta Daddy chat. If anyone wants to jump in there. All right, let's get back to what we were doing. Sorry, I get squirrel easily distracted. If you didn't know. So anyway, Deck. I think that we've got a good chance for upside back to where we were post earnings. The big thing here was the CEO was a complete douche and just like I'm not giving guidance. I hope he'll give guidance this time and like repair the damage done. I'm not really sure it'll even be well received now that he's like, oh, now I've got new guidance. I don't know. I hope that it is, and we get some good positive price movement. Really, not just for me, but like a lot of people are affected by that, and it's the words of one person at the top of a company drastically impact price of a stock. That's why CEOs get paid what they get paid. Like if you've ever worked close to a CEO of like, I don't know, any billion-dollar plus company, you know that they don't do a whole lot like for the company necessarily. There's presidents and group presidents and general managers, director, blah, blah, blah. Like those people are making it all work. The CEO is telling a story and building relationships with analysts so that they give him and they give the stock good reviews. They're like Yelp, but for companies, really what these people are. And that's what CEOs do. They spend all this time working with investors. And I know this because I've worked fairly close to CEOs in the past, and like that's literally all the guy that I know did. And he did a really good job at it. I'm not going to tell you who it was or what company, but he did a really good job of it. And he was rewarded for way more than what the company did. I'll never forget the company took like a $500 million impairment, which, by the way, at the time was like 20% of the business. And the stock shot through the roof. They're like, oh, great business decision. And it's like, he just screwed up the cash flow for like the next 5 years. The stock went up. What is this? Thankfully, I own some of the stock. I'm like, okay, cool. This is great. I don't know what's happening. But that's what, that's literally what we pay for, well, the shareholders, but what the companies pay for is to deliver shareholder value by building relationships with analysts and getting the stock to go higher and be valued for more than really what it even is. And that's okay, right? Like, I think we all generally understand that that's the game. Like, that's why sexy sells. That's why Jensen and his leather jacket's like, hell yeah, man, we're going to make $1 bajillion next year. You're like, $3 trillion company, right? That's how it works. So hopefully he gets his head out of his ass, and says the right words, because they're obvious, right? And if he does that, I think we have a chance. But I also think there's a potential that some analysts will have a bad taste left in their mouth potentially from the last earnings cycle. However, or earnings report, I will say that the market in general tends to have a short-term memory. So maybe they can remember for one earnings back, but like you go a couple back and nobody remembers anything. It's wild. So anyway, that's my take on Deck. And then we'll catch up here now on a couple of just solid positions before we look at a couple of charts. See you, Alec. Well, you're probably already gone. Have fun at work tomorrow if you watch the video later. UNH. Yeah, UNH hurt. Big sell-off across that sector in general. Am I worried? Honestly, no, because I'm not even selling options on this right now, because I'm just waiting for earnings, which is it next? No, it's the week after next, right? So that's kind of where like everything will resolve most likely. This is another case where it could take 2 earnings cycles, but we have so much good back pressure between old CEO who knows what to say, knows how to be CEO, knows how to talk to analysts, knows how to take a company to $600 a share. And then we also have a lot of people in Congress allegedly buying this. I have not verified any of this, but Google it, I guess, or ChatGPT it. I don't know, however you do this stuff these days. And you may find that there's some really good backing to that statement. If not, I still think that there's just no way it's half the value of what it was a week prior when that drop happened. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here, but I'm generally pretty confident it'll be all right. Bought your put back. All right. Nice. Now you're an Oscar. Oh, wait a second. Oscar? Dude, I was looking at that all week. Did it like have did it improve? No. Oh, did you just buy it here? Okay, so you think you bought the bottom? I hope so. Oscar's terrifying, dude. I've looked at selling CSPs on that like 7 times, and every time it's turned out I'm so glad I didn't. Because like, well, let's look at a much shorter time frame. Let's look at 1 year. 1 year will work. And what happened here? Here we go. Dude, look at that in 1 year. We're just all over the place. That's kind of what scares me. And spiking up to 22, like this was a cool spike up, but that drop was awful. This was also analyst driven, I'm pretty sure, when I was reading the news, especially this one right here, where everyone was just like, dude, what's going on? It's not worth this. And like the stock, like, why do you gotta be like that, analyst? Like, why can't you let us just enjoy money? So huge drop here. And the problem is we're out of the fibs entirely. And we're below every moving average that exists. And we're approaching 1 year lows of 11, right? And that kind of worries me. Will we bounce all the way back there? There's an old-timey gap here that we touched. I don't know if that counts as filling though. I think it's supposed to be a full-on bar to fill it, right? But yeah, so like this maybe slight gap fill left to 13, and maybe then we're safe. Technically, there's another gap here to 12. I'm not sure we would count all the way back to here, but there's some scariness here to me where I'm of the opinion that where we might be catching a falling knife. You could say that downside's protected where whatever you're willing to take that risk. And that's probably a fair statement, a fair bet. But I'm personally I really like Bob Dog's conviction on this, but this is where I sit back for maybe a few days longer than the hype. And sometimes it works out, sometimes I miss it completely. And that's fine. And I'm fine with that because, I'm not looking to time the bottom. I'm just looking to get a little bit more confidence before I make a move because I don't want to lose money, right? Like that's just what I want to avoid. Now, I'm not saying people who got in right here are going to lose money. You might have caught the exact bottom, and I hope you did. I really do hope you did. But I'm just saying, like that's why I'm still a little wary because I'm like, I don't know. This gap's up, this gap's down. This whole chart's a mess. And I don't know what to make of it. And if I don't know what to make of it, I shouldn't be messing with it. Is really what it comes down to for me anyway. Three analysts dropped to 10. Oh man. Oy. Yeah, yeah. I showcased, you don't like pretend like you know charts that well, but I think you know charts better than you lead on. I know you know charts, but I'm just saying like you don't always lead on that you know charts as well as you do. And I think, you've probably got a good eye for it too, of like just tread lightly is probably really the advice here because again, could moon tomorrow or Monday, but I just don't know. I don't feel too confident. The company, Justin, I think that's a good point. I think the company is good. I think that's why, Bob Dog's conviction is so strong. Like their financials are good. Oh, that's okay. So that's what the analyst said. The analyst said that they were overstating, no, they were understating the like Medicare, Medicaid type of stuff. Payments owed, something like that, like some accrual stuff. I don't remember the exacts, but they compared it to another company that just did the same thing. And then they ended up taking like a 30% hit or something absurd. So that was the concern with Oscar. Is it legit? I don't know. To be honest, I would think that by earnings, they will clean that up, right? They'll figure out a way to move the dollars around and be like, we don't have that problem. Look, it's right here. We're good. We're covered. We're not dumb. So like, there's a very good chance that like this is a great earnings play if they have their stuff together, as it seems that they do. And if they can execute on that risk that was pointed out by that analyst, well, then they'll moonshot. I fully expect they'd be back at 20 potentially because they'll prove that no, not only is it not an issue, look, because of all the reasons, but look, this is where the stock was. Let's go back there, please. And then the market will be like, well, obvious, we got to go back there. So, that's definitely a potential, but definitely messy. Definitely messy. Analysts give a discount. Yeah, they do. Giving us free money here, hopefully, right? He did. I have a 250,000 in UNH. Ugh, yeah. Dead inside. That's a good one to start with. Yeah, you do need to be dead inside, I think, a little bit to be a good stock trader. Otherwise, you'll be up all night every night. All right. Oh, okay. So I want to brag a little bit. I brag about Theta Daddies, but this one's like actually I'm bragging about for me because I'm not the God charter, but on occasion I make drawings that look good. Okay, look, this was amazing, and so we actually drew this together, and the cup is actually a little sloppy, right? Realistically, I should have gone to like whatever some other lines, but it's close enough. This is the cup shape. We drew our wedge, and we drew this arrow and said, look what might happen. And, it's not often I get to be like, look what happened. It was almost exact. Like, look at the bar. The wick touched the tip. It touched the tip. We touched tips. That was pretty cool. So I might hang this one up on the fridge and see if my wife notices when she gets back from the lacrosse tournament. She's currently out with my son. She's probably going to be like, get this stupid chart off my refrigerator. I don't even hang the kids' artwork up on the refrigerator. What is wrong with you? And I'll be like, but look, the arrow, it's perfect. And she'll be like, shut up. Did you make money? I'll be like, no, I had covered calls at 13. That'll be the best part. Like, that's the punchline of all this. is I covered. So yeah, that was fun. But the reason there's two reasons I wanted to show this. One was the brag of like drinking out of the teacup here, but here's the other reason I wanted to show it. We have another one, and a little more seriously here. I don't know, how did I do it last time where it had the area curve? That was better. You can see it though. The curve's there. Here's the cup. We've got the like. It's always this degrading wedge, and the arrow. My arrow is always a couple days off. That's fine. But look, we're going up, and I wonder. Now. There's always the question of, is my wedge right? And the answer is probably not. But I wonder if we're going to see any similarities here of that breakout. Now they gapped up, and they gapped up for other reasons too, right? They had really good positive momentum behind them here. But Reddit has earnings in a couple weeks, and we typically have a run up to earnings. So yeah, that's going to be my prediction. That I wonder if we'll get back to this long ago channel I drew. I drew this originally back here when this is all I had. Are we going to get back to this channel before earnings? I don't know. I love Reddit, and so it doesn't really matter for me what it does in terms of like right now or in a year from now, because it's my high conviction play. But I think that we might see a similar result here potentially. Will it happen next week? I don't know. Will it happen the week before earnings? Nobody can predict that for sure, but it'd be cool. And so that's what I'm hoping for. I'm not going to really, there's not much more I can say about it, but it is cool to see this potentially playing out again with two stocks that I do like a lot and have some similarities in that they're newish. They're not fully understood, although Bull is definitely, I would say Bull is more understood than Reddit. Like even now, there's a lot of companies that don't understand what Reddit does, and that's unfortunate, or how they're going to make money. But the fact is, they keep making more and more money. They keep executing, with the only concern being potential share dilution from compensation plans, which I think is going to be water under the bridge. And I mean, a lot of companies have that issue. So I don't see that as being like a deal breaker. But that's what I'm looking forward to, and I think it's good. Put it on a grocery bag. I'm gonna put it on a milk carton. This is my baby. Reddit is definitely my baby. You got 100 shares. Nice, dude. I'm not gonna ask what your cost basis is, but that's like asking someone's age, isn't it? Especially like a woman's age. Like, hey, how old are you? I can't tell you that. What's your cost base? I can't tell you that. Let's just say I bought it at an IPO price and be done with it. Okay. I did buy it here, by the way. Haha, it was good. I didn't get it quite at 46 or sub 40. I did get that 46 though. That was good. Right around there. All right. All right. Think that was everything I wanted to hit. Let me double check. I didn't miss anything obvious. We wanted to hit Bull, Reddit. I do want to look at the Google chart actually really quick. I've been ignoring it because it's just kind of pumping away in the background. Ooh, that's nice. All right, Showcase. What does Tao say about this one? I mean, this has got to be looking pretty good, I would think, right? ECB at 147. All right. That's fine. You'll be okay. I think, honestly, I think anything in the 150 range is fine, by the way. So you'll be all right. You hope the wick touches the tip again? Oh, yes. Then I will post both. Maybe I'll get a tattoo. Put it right on the leg. Here's my teacup. Yeah, I think Google is just going to continue powering away here. It's lagging behind all of the other Mag 7 is the rhetoric that we hear in general financial communities. I honestly don't know how true that is. It feels undervalued for what they do and how much they control. Like, dude, my life is controlled by Google essentially. I'm not an Apple kid. I eat apples. I don't use them as phones. Although I was an Apple fan back in like the year 2000, I will say that. Should have bought them then. Oh, didn't have any money, but it would have been a good purchase. Even $1 would have been a good purchase back then. Tao says room up to 187. For Google? Interesting. So my we finished at what, 185? We touch 187? Oh, we got close. Wow. So we is that the fib? 187 ish. Okay. I got 190, and that was how I determined my 190 was looking at the fibs actually with where we were when I sold it, and I don't know, man. I think we're going back to the 190s. That's where my head's at post earnings, but there's a lot that could go wrong in earnings, right? Like the big question with Google is AI stealing search results and ad revenue. I think they can talk through that, and I've heard that that's not really a concern in the way people think it is, because like AI is essentially a starting point, but then ultimately there's still search opportunity, and there's all the licensing stuff, and I don't know. I think there's stuff there, but they do have a severe. I 100% agree with you on this, the PR issue. They do not have a sexy CEO, and they really need to fix that. To be honest, like Apple no longer has a sexy CEO, and you can kind of see it. It's taken a while because they had such a backlog, but even Apple feels like they're peaking or have peaked. Maybe have peaked. What am I doing? It's AAPL. I always do that backwards. But like, when did Jobs die? It's like way down here. I know it was a while ago, but I don't know. It feels like they've peaked, and part of me thinks Apple's going to have this really slow, very like multi year slow sideways. Maybe not downtrend, but just sideways forever. I don't know why. It's just how it feels. I don't see how they get out unscathed either from AI, and music has changed a lot. Like, is iTunes really profitable anymore? Probably, but I have YouTube Premium. I mean, it's fantastic. I love it. I can listen to any song ever on demand. Spotify, Pandora. Yeah, Pandora's garbage. I had Pandora. I don't think many people subscribe to that anymore. I don't want to say it's garbage. It's not for me anymore. I like the YouTube package better. I wonder. I'm kind of curious. Top BB? Yeah, okay. I can see that being an issue too. Uh, you think it'll go up? How's not predicting? Okay, that's fair. Apple feels like it's not in. I do this. What else? Like even is it who has the glass? Oh, it's Meta. Meta has the glasses now, right? Like, which by the way, Google tried literally 10 years ago, and it was, what were they, Google Glass, right? That was a thing for a while, and that didn't pan out, mostly because like the glasses, the edges were like this big. They were like tubes. They couldn't fit the processing power in the shape back then. Yeah, dude. So Google's CEO, I agree. I feel like he's the smartest of the CEOs, maybe outside of Jensen, like of Mag 7. Well, that's not true. Jensen is clearly very smart. He's been running NVIDIA since the beginning. Elon's obviously smart. Love him or hate him, he's obviously a smart guy. I don't know about old Tim Boy here, man. He doesn't feel like, he feels like he's just riding the wave. I don't know. He's like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm slick. I'm Jobs 2.0, but he's not. And his hair's just getting grayer, and I don't know, isn't it, or whiter? I don't see it. Is that what YTP stands for? YouTube Premium? That's hilarious. All right, now we're friends. Now we're best friends. I need the. Did we just become best friends meme? Yeah, I think so. Google could use YouTube to get into AI. Yeah, that's the 100%. That's huge, right? Like YouTube may realistically, YouTube's got to be like a long-term bigger market than Google search. People, I've been hearing more and more how like YouTube search is how Gen Z lives, and Gen Alpha maybe, where it's just there's a video for that. Why would you search text? Just get the video, and in like 10 seconds somebody tells you. You don't have to read anymore. This is great. Definitely feels like a big one. They gave up. When did they give up on the glasses? Dude, I saw the glasses in like an ad last week. When did they give up on the glasses? Supply chain extra. Okay, all right. I didn't know that about Tim. That makes sense. He fixed everything with, dude, me too. I was fixing stuff with YouTube 15 years ago. I replaced a relay in a 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee that had a fan that died, and it was going to cost $2,500 to get the stupid $75 relay repaired. And I found a YouTube video, and the guy's like, don't do that. Take out the headlight, cut a hole in the bumper, stick your hand and pull out the old relay, stick your hand and put in the new relay. $75 later, put a piece of duct tape over it. You won't get any leaks. All good. Nobody will know there's a hole in your bumper when you sell the car because they're not taking the light off to look at it. And that fixed the problem and literally saved me $2,500. I love that story anyway. YouTube is just visual Reddit. Oh, that's an interesting take. I'm not going to call it a hot take, but I don't know if I see it, to be honest. I feel like it's... Okay, visual Reddit in how the content comes across, yes. But the comments don't work the same is the problem between the two comparisons, YouTube and Reddit. And that's the problem between Reddit and like any other content platform is the conversation train sucks. Like the threads that Reddit has, they're obvious. They're just parent-children. But like everywhere else, just they condense into one single thread per comment. Kind of like even how Discord does threads. And I don't know. It's not the same from like AI or from AI data trove that they could use. Might have laid off a bunch of people in moved to AI. Dude, don't tell me that. My son just got a Quest he bought it himself, by the way. I was very proud of him. Zuck is refocused on AI. Okay, I did read that. I heard about the $100 million for AI engineers. That's absurd. What the hell, man? Come on. Get real. That's insane. All right. Do I have anything else? Oh, this stupid penny stock that I've had forever, Kit, is doing something again. I am not suggesting anyone look at it, but maybe look at it. Not because I want you to get in and pump with me. That's not the case. I will tell you that if it goes to like $2, I'm out. So like, it's only 5,000 shares. It's a very tiny position actually when you consider it. But they do underwater robotics, and like they're landing more and more contracts. They're penny stock, right? So like they're $15 million market cap company, but I see them going from 15 million to like that, I don't know, we'll call it $100 million range. So even though I say I'm going to sell it at 2, I might not. These stupid penny stocks are so sexy. You can't can't help yourself but have a couple. And then Clove is coming back. They found some real strong support at 3, and I think they have earnings coming up, or did they just have earnings? I don't know. Anyway, that is it. That's all my plays. Anything you guys want to talk through or charts you want to look at? I think that's everything that I got for this week in review. Again, kind of sad result thanks to Puke, but overall, I can't even be that upset. It wasn't negative. I mean, that's kind of good, right? And I've made worse mistakes in life for sure. My house flip still that I failed back in 2008 during the bubble was probably my biggest failure of like minus 50K when I didn't have 50K to be minus 50K on. So like all things considered, we still made money. I'll have to stare at the $2,000 reminder for 10 weeks straight, but we'll get through it together. And yeah, dude, the freaking pennies are so stupid and sexy in those tight Lulu leggings they wear. It's terrible. Whatever happened to cutting deck and buying Google? Yeah. Oh, good question. That's a great question. I did say that. I was looking at that, and I did look at that. What happened there was I sold my last CC, and that turned out to not be true because I sold the CC, and then all of a sudden, like the stock was going up, and I was able to get a better CC like a week out, so I did it. And then the stock kept going up, and I got a better CC a couple weeks out after earnings. And I'm like, well, I've held this long. I feel like I might as well hold for earnings. And the fact was, each of these were, as a percent return on the stock, were good. So it was a 3.2%. It was realistically annualized, not like, it was equivalent to like 1.5%, no, 1% return. So it was decent, and that's generally what I look for. So I was like, for the chance that it goes to 115, I'll take it. If not, I lower my cost basis by $3, and I'll probably cut it after that. So if earnings tense, what I'm going to do, because IV will obviously crush after that, I'll likely buy it back and then get out. So we will either eventually get out post earnings because it went well, or get out because it went bad, and then I'm done with deck forever. And I know I kind of extended the timeline there a little bit. I didn't think I was going to do that at the time, but like you can even see the premiums were just they were kind of good. So I'm happy with the plays in each of those. Like the increase for each of those were somewhat respectable, especially if you consider that like if we sell at 115, that is a $15,000. Well, no, from where we were, $10,000 difference. So like if you include that potential, it seems like a good return on the current capital tied up. That was the thought process. Will it work out? Maybe not, but I don't have any regrets with this play currently. I may once earnings comes and goes, and we find out that the CEO is still a douche. I don't know. We'll see. I did write an after. Well, so I actually wrote a Reddit post about. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Now you're gonna look me up my Reddit name and stuff. Disaster. Actually, it's not word for word. I had ChatGPT fix it. Never mind. Saved. I thought about that one. I had it on Reddit like 10 years ago, and somehow we got on the topic of house flips or losing money. And I'm like, oh, I have a story. Did people want to see it? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I found like my old post, fixed it up in ChatGPT, and then posted it. It was not AI written, but it was AI augmented for sure for to protect my own identity more than anything. And yeah, that was a fun story. You want me to tell you it? Okay. All right. So basically, I got into a. So if you want to be done, you can be done with watching the video. We're just going to do story time now to wrap up. Thanks for everybody who came to watch the stock stuff. The stock stuff is done. I'll leave. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll leave up a nice little picture of the stock chart that was so pretty. What happened here? Oh, I'm on the 1 year, aren't I? Oh, that's not the one I want. We'll look at the 6 month. All right, we'll leave this on in the background here while I talk about our my failed house flip story. So basically, what happened was I was an engineer and out of college, mechanical engineer, was doing aerospace work and living at home. And not, oh, actually, I was living in my mom's basement, oddly enough. But I was 23 years old, whatever. And me and a partner that we formed a partnership. We didn't actually incorporate or anything, so I should step back. Um, a kid that I was friends with in college, who I got a job at my job, who never graduated, actually to this day never even finished his degree, and now works at NASA on a lie of a resume. God, I hope I'm not outing anyone here. We decided to partner up, and we're like, we're gonna make money as a business. And the whole idea was back in my 23-year-old brain, I was like, I literally drew a chart, and I'm like, okay, it didn't look like this. Oh, I can draw. I have paint. I drew a chart, and the chart was this. It was X Y, and the idea was if we looked at ourselves as like a business student or even my doctor friends, your income potential was like this, right? This is for the business student. We'll just say business. And then the engineer had a higher starting salary. And, you might have a couple of bumps like this. But eventually, if you stay in engineering, there is this likely inflection point. This is less true for tech, right? I'm not. I was an ME. I wasn't a computer scientist. Although I was a computer scientist my first year of college, and realized, oh my God, this is not what I want to do with my life. Um, and so the idea was to use our starting capital to get ahead by starting our own business. And we looked at actually a couple businesses. We looked at starting a pool business, which I called. My name's John. I don't care if people know my first name. That's fine. And my partner's name, I can't say it, was Bill. We're gonna go with Bill. All right. And so it was going to be called BJ's Pool Cleaner. And it had like a hose with squirty water coming out. This is in 2004. Dude, I have never been like somebody who has anything a serious bone in his body. It's a wonder I made it to where I have in life. But back then, like that, we had a website made up. I wrote it in HTML because it was so cool to do that stuff back then. And we even went to like pool shops and learned what chemicals we need. But like, well, at the end of the day, neither of us had a pool. So like we had no way to experiment. This was just, it was like, yeah, pool people make money. Let's do that. And then we're going to hire people who are going to do it. Nothing. It all fell apart. So we're like, okay, screw that. And then it was like, oh, wait, people make money flipping houses. We should flip a house. So we went from like this $5,000 cost startup of a BJ's pool cleaner company to let's buy a $400,000 house. And the problem with that plan was, number one, how do you get a mortgage at 23 years old for $400,000? Well, it turns out, it just so happens that Countrywide existed. And Countrywide didn't give a F who you were, how much money you had. We were able to prove our income and pool. They let us pool it together like we were some married couple. And clearly we were not. This was before any of that legality had passed, by the way. And we just walked in and we're like, yeah, we want to buy this house. We have a house in mind. And we need $400,000 so that we can buy the house and have money to do this flip. And they're like, okay. They went through underwriting. I talked to the underwriter. Actually was a friend of my now brother-in-law who, God, I wish he didn't give me that. Well, that's not true. No regrets, to be honest. All said and done. It was a great experience. But long story short for this part, we got the mortgage, zero down. And like normally you put 20% down on a mortgage if you didn't know, like that's normal practice. And if you don't, you pay not points. You pay something, right? There's some extra you pay if you don't put anything down. Well, at the time, apparently Countrywide was selling these subprime mortgages. I didn't know I was subprime at the time, left and right, causing the housing bubble and the mortgage bubble to burst. And I was one of them. So we totally PMI. Thank you. You got it. We got that zero down mortgage, bought a house. The problem was, we're dumb, right? We were dumb just out of college kids who could design airplane parts, which I guess is good, although not even well, if we're honest, and just quickly, like a bunch of monkeys. And they gave us this house. We wanted. It was a probate. We overbid to get it because we're idiots. It was a 2-bedroom house. And I didn't even realize until we tried to sell the house down the line, like 2-bedroom wasn't as desirable as 3-bedroom. Why would that be that? Why would you need more than one bed? I don't know. 2-bedroom, 1 bath sounds great. They're just numbers, right? Like somebody's got to want this. Well, apparently the market is a lot smaller. Anyway, we bought this house, and when I say it was a gut job, like I kid you not, we ripped off the entire roof, which is normal. But then we ripped off almost the entire subroof and replaced 25 pieces of plywood that we didn't know we had to do, and rafters that were rotted out. And we had to get the stupid raccoon that was living in the gutter out of the gutter. We did all this work with day laborers that was a thing in Long Island, and is still a thing today, by the way, although ICE has got something to say about it, I guess. And, we paid them good money. Honestly, it was $100 a day per person. They worked 12-hour days. Like, we didn't ask them. Like, half the time I was like, can we leave? I want to go home and go to sleep. And they're like, no, we're not done. I'm like, okay, you guys want pizza or whatever? So we'd get them food. We were friends with them by the end. Friendly with them. And yeah, it was actually a great working relationship. They taught us how to do a lot of things. They taught us how to make a kitchen from scratch. Anyway, I'm getting off on tangents here. So we got this house. It was a piece of junk. We flipped it, sweat equity plus day laborers. and we learned a lot in the process. It was fantastic. We had a lot of fun with the demo, punching holes in the walls. I threw the toilet off the roof into the dumpster, which was a disaster as well. Not because of the toilet, because of the dumpster. The dumpster left divots in the driveway, and I thought I was smart. I called the dumpster guy, and I was like, "Hey man, are you guys going to pay to repair the driveway?" And he's like, I can just dump all your shit all over your driveway and say goodbye. And if you want, let me know. I'll do that today. And I was like, no, don't do that, please. I need to take the garbage still. I just was hoping you'd also pay for the driveway. Learned my lesson, like what leverage is, right? I was like, I had zero leverage in that conversation. What else happened? We did some cool things though. So like I bought windows from a wholesaler, and they're like, yeah, you just need to prove you're a wholesaling business. I'm like, well, how do you do that? And they're like, just send us like an email on an official letterhead. I'm like, okay. And I made up a letterhead in Microsoft Word at work. So sent it to them, and they're like, okay. And they delivered these really cheap ass, like good windows, vinyl windows at the time, good windows anyway, for like $2,500 for the whole house. And it wasn't that big of a house, but like still, that's pretty damn good. And my day laborers installed it. They were bay windows, there were regular windows, there were. It is a Long Island story. You're calling me out, man. It was all over the place. So we did that. We recycled. It had this ridiculous aluminum awning like thing, kind of one of those like I don't know screened in porches, but the screen was metal. It wasn't like screened in porches today. We recycled that, and the guy paid us $2,000. We ripped it down. He paid us $2,000 to take it away. So that was kind of cool. But then it gets bad because like we did all this work. We had wood paneling covering 3 layers of wallpaper that we sweat equity ripped out. Ripped out all the floors, resanded. They had nice wood floors under, resanded all them. It was a lot of work. I designed a kitchen in IKEA software and built that kitchen. It came out pretty good, actually. So, like, that stuff went well. We had to upgrade the electrical. It was a ton. Ripping out the backyard. My friend was a landscaper. He helped with that, which was super appreciated. And at the end of the day, like, the house looked good. But nobody wanted it because it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, right? So, like, also the taxes were $13,000 a year. Like Long Island taxes are insane and don't make any sense. It's a scam, really. So like we had all this going on, and then the housing market literally crashed like the couple weeks before we were ready to list. So we listed. We tried to do for sale by owner. It was a disaster. We don't know how to advertise. Redfin didn't really exist. Nothing existed yet. The only thing that existed was the Bigger Pockets forum, which was like the beginnings of the biggest forum for real estate ever. So that did exist, but like, and we're trying to get like all this advice off there, and it was a disaster. So eventually we find a renter who's covering the mortgage, but not the taxes. And we rent out for like 2 years. And at this point, me and my partner are not talking to each other. Like he hates me. I don't really hate him, but I'm like, I don't want to talk to the guy. And eventually we get to the point where we decide to bite the bullet. We hire a real estate agent who knew her stuff. Her name was Cookie, of course. I don't know. Like I'm not making that up. Her name was Cookie, and she had a plan, how she was going to market it, how she was going to list it, all this stuff, and it was good, and we actually got some movement right away. Now the funny thing is, when we were doing the FSBO route, I got one offer, and I had just read a book of like how to negotiate. Actually, I'm so dumb. I don't know how to negotiate. Although apparently I did. I just thought I was so dumb I had to read a book on how to negotiate. And it was like, when somebody makes an offer, don't respond. And I was like, oh, okay. So this guy makes an offer. That was a pretty decent offer. It was like 445 or something. And we would have basically broke even if we sold to that guy. And I was like, okay. Making him sweat. He didn't sweat at all. And I said, I'll call you back. And he left And I broke what is now one of my rules in stock trading of not taking profit right away. I didn't know it at the time. And yeah, never saw him again, right? Until one day. That motherfucker's the one who bought the house. He bought it. It's the same guy. I found it in closing. He bought the house. Oh my gosh! And he got it for like 410. I don't remember what he even sold it for. Maybe 410 or something like that. 2 years later, it you want to see something that crushes your soul. Walk into the closing room where the guy that you talked to face, for sale by owner, didn't have to pay real estate fees or anything. Walks in the door, and he is the I can't call him bastard. He didn't do anything wrong. I did. I made all the mistakes, and yeah, he's like, "Hey, nice to see you again." It's like, oh no, oh, talk about eating shit. That was probably that is by far the worst it's ever been for me. There were actual other issues with that house where the during the close process we had to pay a neighbor $10,000 because apparently they were taking care of the lawn, this one little corner, other side of the fence, and in Long Island, they because they did that, they claimed the property. Some talk about the most bullshit law I've ever heard of in my life, and I had to pay that neighbor $10,000. This is the only actual bastard of the whole story to get that property back on the actual, I don't know, on the deed or whatever. And it was only even noticed because the person um, who did the what do you call it, the survey or whatever, saw someone mowing the lawn that day. And if he didn't say anything, if he didn't see the guy mowing the lawn that day, like it never would have been an issue. But like that was the final kick in the pants that just like, you think you've hit a low. That was the low. But like I look back on that, and of course now I look back and I have zero regrets. Like, yeah, it's the only time I've ever had credit card debt in my life. I had a 1992 Corvette, which was pretty cool, that I got for a great price. Sold it for what I paid for it, and used that to pay off almost all of my debt immediately. And then, you like anything, you pay down your debt and you get out of it and you're done. It probably took me a total of like 2 years to fully recover from that. But, that whole time, like I was already progressing in my career. There's an end to it all. And it was like, whatever, can I go on a fancy vacation? Not really. Will I be able to do it again one day? Obviously. But it was at the time, it was a very painful couple of years. And I remember just like the other thing that I didn't really ever get into in post talking about this is it's one of those times where at some point in your life, I grew up in I don't want to like throw shit. I hope my dad's not watching this, but he was a blue collar guy when I was growing up. My mom was a secretary, like lower middle class, I'd call us. They did great later in life. Well, my mom passed away. My dad did great later in life and is very successful since then. But at the time, like, they didn't have money to bail me out for my own stupid mistakes. So it was also like a big learning of like, oh, consequence, and this is on me. Nobody's going to save me from this. I got to figure it out. And like realistically, I think personally, I needed that growing up moment to happen somehow. I'm not sure there was a better way or a worse way. Probably, yeah, but it ended up being good, and I love telling the story now. Like I can tell that pretty proudly. My buddy that I did the house flip with, we don't like talk a lot now, mostly because we just don't live anywhere near each other. I've seen him a few times since. We're cool. It's all good. I think we both walked away with it like, yeah, we could have done things differently, could have done things better. He actually wanted to do another house flip. I'm like, God, no. I'm never doing a house flip again. Are you crazy? And from there, it was just like, I'm just gonna boglehead DCA for my life, which I did up until a year ago. And that's it. That's the story. So I hope you enjoyed that story time. That's going to do it for me. I think that was a long story for sure. I enjoy telling it every once in a while. Hopefully you got a kick out of it at the very least. And as always, thanks for joining me today. This was definitely a bit longer stream than anticipated, but fun one as always. So as always, we'll be back next week, same time, same place for anyone who wants to catch us live. I do actually. I had stepped away from last thing. I've stepped away from making like YouTube long form content. Otherwise, other than these streams, I will be putting out some more. I'm hoping this week to get back into it. The fact is, we've got some things sorted out now on the Theta Daddies Discord where I don't need to put as much energy that I was putting into that, getting certain things set up and working and plans and everything that goes with that, the website, merch, whatever. Things are going great there. We continue to do well. We have literally hundreds of members now, which is amazing. So, feel good about that. That'll keep going. But I do want to get back to like, really, for me anyway, a lot of what started all of this was I was making content on After Hour, content on YouTube. I'm going to keep doing that. Certainly, there's stuff that will only ever exist on the Theta Daddy Discord, right? We're not going to give away the whole house there, but I do want to keep teaching people where I can. I get a lot out of that. I like making videos and doing that. So just a little announcement that we'll be back with those. It won't just be live streams here once a week. So if you're not subscribed, check it out. Hopefully you enjoy. And if you're not a Theta Daddy member already, check us out. We get paid. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see everybody in the next one, if I can find the close button. Goodbye.